Do you like mysteries? To wander through the enigmatic mist of the inexplicable? Great. I'm Merc, and here you'll find what you're looking for. Welcome to my domains. The truth dissolves into the mist.
The image of the vampire that populates the popular imagination is almost always the same. A pale and slender nobleman, wrapped in long black capes, with soft speech and aristocratic manners. He fears the light of day, trembles before a crucifix, and feels repulsed by the smell of garlic. This figure, forged in the salons of Europe and immortalized by Hollywood, is almost a romantic character, almost a victim of his own condition. But what happens when we remove all the romanticism? When we take away the cape, the high collar, and all the weaknesses that make him vulnerable? What remains is the purest and most terrifying form of the nocturnal predator. What remains is a creature that does not hide in the shadows of Transylvania, but haunts the arid vastness of the northeastern backlands. What remains is the forget everything you know about vampires. The Encourado is not a creature that makes pacts or follows rules. He is the manifestation of fear in its most primal form, a being that defies not only logic but faith itself. While Dracula needs to be invited into a home, the Encourado simply arrives. While other vampires hesitate before a sacred symbol, the Encourado ignores them completely. He does not fear the church. He does not fear its rites. He does not fear its symbols. And that, more than his fangs or his wings, is what makes him the most sinister creature in our folklore. But what exactly is the Encourado? Unlike the Gothic elegance of European vampires, the appearance of this entity is profoundly grotesque. His skin is replaced by a hard, aged leather, like that of an animal long dead under the scorching sun. His clothes, if we can call them that, are made of the same material, forming a organic and putrid armor that exudes the smell of dried meat and death. And from his back emerge enormous wings, black and membranous like those of a giant bat, which serve not only for flight but to envelop his victims in an absolute and silent darkness. The Encourado is a creature of silent habits, but his hunting methods are disturbingly specific. The oral tradition of the sertão tells that he possesses a refined palate, a macabre palate. He prefers the blood of those who do not attend church. They say the blood of those distanced from faith has a more intense, purer flavor, free from what he considers the contamination of divine protection. This is not a matter of vulnerability. It is a matter of preference. It is a detail that reveals a perverse consciousness, a creature that knows what it wants and despises the very spirituality that should, in theory, stop him. But how do you know if the Encourado is nearby? Unlike other creatures that attack in the dead of night without leaving a trace, the presence of the Encourado is announced by signs that any certain age learns to recognize and fear. The first of these is the behavior of animals. When chickens, which are normally tireless layers, simply stop laying eggs for no apparent reason, something is wrong. When dogs, the most loyal guardians of man, refuse to leave the house, huddled in a corner, emitting muffled whines as if sensing an invisible danger, the air around is no longer safe. And then there is the darkest sign of all, the vultures. These birds, which are natural messengers of death, begin to circle slowly and silently over a specific residence. They do not descend, they just wait. They know, with an instinctive wisdom, that something is about to happen. When these three signs align, the silence of the chickens, the fear of the dogs, and the vigil of the vultures, the message is clear and inescapable. The Encourado is near, choosing his prey, waiting for the right moment to descend. It is at this point that the nature of the Encourado reveals itself in all its mercilessness, For the simple man of the sertão, faith is the last trench, the safe harbor when all other defenses fail. But against the Encourado this trench is useless. Testimonies and legends are unanimous in stating that praying does not work. The sacred words echo in the void without affecting the creature. The symbol of the cross, raised with trembling hands, is met with indifference or, worse, with a mocking silence. The Encourado does not retreat, does not writhe, does not show any sign of pain or repulsion. Gare and garlic, the ancient universal vampire repellent. In the sertão it is used to season food, not to ward off demons. Hanging garlic cloves on the door or window is an empty gesture, an attempt to apply a foreign rule to a genuinely Brazilian evil. The Encourado simply ignores the odor. He passes through the garlic as if it were just another aroma of the sertão. There are no weaknesses, no rituals, no magical formulas to banish him. And that is where the absolute terror lies. Think for a moment. What is left when everything you believe in, all the symbols of protection taught to you since childhood, prove completely useless? Primal fear remains. The perception remains that you are alone, unarmed, facing a predator for which there is no known defense. The Encourado is not just a vampire, he is the personification of helplessness. He is the certainty that, sometimes, there is no divine protection that prevails, and that evil can simply descend from the sky and choose you. But if there is no defense against him, how have the stories survived? How does anyone escape to tell the legend? If there are no weaknesses, if faith and sacred symbols are useless, what is left for those who find themselves face to face with the Encourado? The answer to this question is as terrifying as the creature itself, and it leads us to an even darker aspect of this entity, its connection to the mysteries of the sertanejo soul and the secrets guarded by the elders. Prepare yourself, because what we are going to reveal now is not a weakness, it is a choice. And this choice reveals what the Encourado really wants from his victims. The Encourado is not an impulsive killer. He does not attack like a hungry animal, driven only by instinct. His method is more meticulous, more cruel. When he prowls around a house, when the signs manifest themselves, he is not simply looking for food. He is evaluating. He is judging. The blood is the reward, yes, but the act itself is a theater of terror where he is the sole director. The people, inside their fragile mud houses, hear the deafening silence outside and know that something is watching them from the rooftop. And it is in this moment of waiting that despair sets in. The legend, in its oldest versions, preserved by the storytellers of the interior, suggests that the Encourado has an intrinsic connection with the victim's spirit. Some say he cannot simply enter and take the blood. He needs a breach. Not a physical breach, like a door or window, but a spiritual breach, a fissure in faith, a doubt, a moment of absolute despair that weakens the soul. It is as if he feeds not only on the blood, but on the very fear he generates, the erosion of hope within his host. If the dogs refuse to go out and the chickens have fallen silent, the sertanejo knows the night will be long. And popular wisdom, forged in generations of survival, does not recommend praying or lighting candles. The recommendation is another, much more practical and much more desperate. The recommendation is absolute silence and patient waiting. Do not turn on lights. Do not make noise. Do not attract attention. Play dead or absent, bare, because the Encourado, despite all his power, perhaps has a limit. Perhaps he cannot attack what he cannot see or hear. This brings us to the nature of his wings. They are not just for flying. They are instruments of capture. When the Encourado descends upon a victim, he completely envelops them with these black membranes, creating a cocoon of leather and darkness. Inside that casing, there is no light, no sound from the outside world. There is only the creature and its prey. What happens in that moment is a mystery, something few have survived to tell. They say the kiss of the Encourado is not a bite on the neck, but something much slower, a draining that can last for hours, while the victim, conscious, feels their life ebbing away drop by drop. And if faith doesn't work, if the church is useless, who does the sertão turn to? The answer is dark and leads us to a deep and little explored syncretism. In some versions of the legend, the only effective protection against the Encourado does not come from God, but from entities that are also on the margins of the church, protectors who understand the nature of that darkness because they also belong to it. Figures like their pilintra or entities linked to magic and the earth are invoked in low prayers, in rituals that the church would condemn, but which for the man of the sertão are the last line of defense against the evil that laughs at the cross. This shows us a fascinating and disturbing aspect of the Encourado. He is not just a creature of evil, he is a dividing line. He forces those who face him to confront the very nature of their belief. He demonstrates, brutally, that institutionalized sacredness may have no power over certain evils, and in this void of protection, the human being is forced to seek answers in darker places, to make silent pacts with forces that also live on the margins, hoping that one evil can fight another evil. There are accounts, almost forgotten by time, of people who managed to survive an encounter with the Encourado, and these people, invariably, carry marks, not physical marks, but an aura of silence and a distant look, as if they were still partially inside that leather cocoon. They say that, in the final moment, when life was already draining away, the Encourado stopped. He simply stopped and released them. Not out of pity, but because he found something in them that satisfied him without the need for complete death, an amount of fear, of despair, of resignation that was, for him, feast enough. The Encourado, therefore, is not just a vampire. He is a reflection of the sertão that created him. Arid, relentless, silent, and immensely powerful. He is the materialization of the fear of the unknown, of powerlessness before the forces of nature and death. He has no weaknesses because he needs no weaknesses. He is the weakness, is the living proof, if we can call him living, that the most terrifying evil is not the one we can fight, but the one that simply is, that exists, that has always existed, gliding over the mud rooftops, waiting for the moment when faith falters and the silence of the animals announces his arrival. That, the next time you are in the silence of the night and hear the sound of heavy wings cutting through the air, or notice that the neighborhood dogs have suddenly fallen silent, remember that there is a Brazilian vampire who does not fear your cross, who does not care about your garlic, and who may, at this very moment, be choosing you. And the only thing you can do is wait. Wait and hope that, for some reason beyond your understanding, he decides your blood is not the tastiest tonight.
Did you like this mystery? And what is your theory? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, then like and share. I'm Merc, and I'll be waiting for you in the next mystery.